welcome to another edition of Earl Knows It All. And today we're going to go over the 2019 NBA draft in light of all the things that have recently happened with some of these draft picks. We decided to take a look at it, see, how things shook out with that draft and determine, if we did a redraft, who should be number one, or just, is this the most disappointing draft in NBA history? At number one, you have Zion Williamson. He's missed several games. I think he's maybe played a full season's worth of games, like 130 games in his 4 years in the league so far. Again, he was a super duper talent coming out of college, and high school, of course, had an amazing following, but his NBA career has been very disappointing. His team's made the playoffs once, but he, of course, has not played in the playoff game yet, based on him being out for injury each year. You could say he's, I guess, a little bit overweight, or people who had issues with his weight and his conditioning and training. And that has been very unfortunate, of course. The number two pick, this guy seemed like he was a sure shot, right pick. A lot of people even at one point questioned should he have went number one, and that is Ja Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, the past several months, and I would say maybe last year of events, as far as actual incidents that have happened, have caused us to kind of take a look at Ja now and say, is this going to be a pick that, goes down as, what could have been? He still has an opportunity to turn around. He's been an all NBA player, I think, once in his career, and he's been all-star, got at, rookie of the year. He's had a good career, but recently some of the off-the-court stuff has been an issue for him. I pray that young brother can kind of get it together and make sure that he lives up to his full potential, because he kind of has the world, right at his fingertips. And right now he's fumbling that. Number three, this was a guy who I wasn't very high on coming out of college, but he was the third best player in this draft. Knicks fans were disappointed, of course, because they thought they were going to get the number one pick, thought they were going to get Zion, thought they were going to add Kyrie and Kevin Durant to their team as well, all in the same year. None of that happened, but the Knicks actually have had a pretty good run since then, though. Made the playoffs twice. RJ's been a part of that. He is the first Knick player since Charlie Ward to sign an extension off of their rookie contract. So that's, over 20 years worth of basketball. Thinking about Charlie Ward. That's over 20 years of draft picks that were not able to do that. So I guess that's a victory for the Knicks. RJ, he's shown some signs at times, but he's not been a star player. And most recently, of course, Knicks fans are saying that him and Julius Randle, his teammate, probably need to be moved on from. So very difficult there, man, as far as saying how he shaked out. But no off the court stuff. He's just kind of been a disappointment. He's a number three pick. He's a decent player. But Knicks fans, of course, want the world, and they were looking for Zion previously. So they've just been disappointed with that pick all the way. The number four pick went to the Lakers via trade, though. However, this was part of that Anthony Davis mix when they got AD. That pick was traded to the Pelicans, which eventually was traded to the Hawks. And the Atlanta Hawks took DeAndre Hunter, another guy that, in my opinion, as a Hawks fan, has been a disappointment, man. He came in as the number four pick. He, was good in Virginia. They won a national championship, coming off a national championship. He had a great Final Four. He was one of the best players on that team, and he's had some injuries. He's been inconsistent, and just hasn't necessarily been a two-way player that they thought he was going to be. He did also just get his rookie contract extended last season, so he's on I guess now we have to kind of recalibrate what these contracts look like with guys making so much, but he has a big contract that's coming up that he'll start. And I'm sure if you poll some Hawks fans or if you're in Reddit or kind of see, what the message boards say, not a lot of people happy about what DeAndre Hunter provides. But nationally, I think he still gets a lot of love. But locally being here, and I'll just be 100% honest, me personally, I've been disappointed with what DeAndre Hunter has brought. But, hey, number four overall pick, I think you should get a little bit more than that. But, we'll see. Maybe with Quinn Snyder there now and more delegating of the offense and not maybe Trae Young having the ball in his hands as much. I guess we'll wait to see if that happens. Maybe DeAndre Hunter has a breakout year this year in his fifth year in the league. Darius Garland. Darius Garland's been an all-star. Now, he was a guy who a lot of people probably if you're doing a redraft, maybe you start to look at this and say, Darius Garland maybe should have been a little bit higher than what he was. He's been an all-star, made the playoffs last year for the first time since without LeBron James for the first time since the mid-90s, did the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's been a major part of that. Was one of those first building blocks along with Jared Allen coming in there, Evan Mobley, and of course they made the big trade for Donovan Mitchell last offseason. However, they did get expeditiously removed from the playoffs by the New York Knicks, who we just were talking about, were a little bit disappointed with their pick. So Garland, I think he's a good guard. He's a good lead guard. Can distribute the ball well, can score. A smaller guy, so it's kind of tough when you have, those smaller guards kind of build your team around that. But I like Darius Garland a lot. Number 6 pick was Jarrett Culver. He is out of the league. He actually wound up moving over to the Hawks. That pick was traded to it was a Suns pick. They traded now and gave that pick to the Timberwolves. And Jarrett Culver was a guy coming out of Texas Tech that had a good season. Texas Tech is never really in the running for anything, but I think they made the Final Four that year. The same year with Virginia and Auburn and those teams. And he had a good run in the tournament, had a good year as a sophomore, wound up being a top 10 pick. He was supposed to be a theoretical 3-and-D type guy, one of those wings who can bring something to you, but he did not even make it to his second contract before he was released. I think he was traded by the Timberwolves, but he's been on a couple teams. And like I said, last year, I don't know if he was in the league this season actually, but I know last season the Atlanta Hawks had him on a 2-way deal. And he played a little bit because Nate McMillan is I don't know what Nate McMillan was doing, but wasn't necessarily that great in that role. The 7th pick, Kobe White. I'm sure Bulls fans probably are a little bit disappointed with him. Came out of North Carolina. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what kind of contract. He didn't even get a rookie extension. So as you start going down this list now, a lot of these guys didn't get those rookie extensions. It'll be interesting to see what the Bulls do with him. If they bring him back, they don't have Lonzo. They got Ayo Dosunmu, who is a good guard. I think it's probably a little bit higher on the pecking call than Kobe White at this point. So he was a 2nd-round pick in the later draft. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a contract or if he's signed as a restricted free agent by another team. But again, a guy that's kind of not necessarily been that amazing in his role. The next guy is Jackson Hayes, who this was a Hawks pick, but in that trade with the Pelicans, the Hawks gave that pick up to the Pelicans. So Jackson Hayes was supposed to be like one of your rim running bigs. He didn't necessarily I think he's on a weird team kind of, with the Pelicans. They don't really have the opportunity to build. I mean, he didn't really have the opportunity, I think, early on to kind of get on the court as much or play in a role that was going to be prominent. Because they had Steven Adams there at one point that they traded for. Now they have Jonas Valanciunas there, and they're trying to find a big that will fit with Zion Williamson, who's never on the court. So Jackson Hayes had some off the court stuff as well a little bit earlier. So he is a free agent this offseason as well. We'll see what happens with him. Rui Hachimura was the number 9 pick by the Wizards. I liked him at Gonzaga. He was a guy who could get a bucket. And as you can see now, I think some of these guys may have been miscast in roles. Just because you get drafted very high doesn't mean you're going to be a superstar player. 9 times out of 10, you may get one guy in that draft that is a star player like that. But Rui has found his way as he was traded to the Lakers during the trade deadline, and was able to be a guy that's a good role player, can fit in, come off the bench, give you some scoring, give you a little bit of defense, and he's actually done a pretty good job in that role playing with the Lakers. The number 10 pick, another disappointment, and a guy who has bounced around the league now. I thought this guy, he came in highly rated out of high school, was a one-and-done guy, was a part of that 3-headed monster at Duke, which he actually struggled at Duke because he was probably part of that team. So you give him the benefit of the doubt with R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson. He didn't have the ball in his hands as much, but he was supposed to be another prototypical kind of 3-and-D guy in the vein of a Paul George maybe, and Cam Reddish didn't live up to that. I guess he kind of did get opportunities in Atlanta. Like I said, being an Atlanta Hawks fan, I kind of got to see his career early on and watch every game that he played. They gave him a little bit more of an opportunity than Kevin Huerter at times. And with the injuries to DeAndre Hunter early in his career, he was getting a little bit more playing time as well based on that. But the Hawks, I think, the word has it that Cam Reddish wanted more of a role, so he asked to be traded. Got traded to the Knicks and went over there with Tibbs, who has no use for young players, and sat on the bench the rest of the season and started the season off this year. Actually, kind of hot to start the season, first couple games, but kept getting DNPs from coach's decision, and eventually got traded at the deadline for Josh Hart. So he helped out the Knicks in that regard over to the Blazers. I didn't watch much of him with the Blazers. I saw when he came back to Atlanta, he had a decent game in that game. But right now, I think Cam is probably going to be a guy that kind of falls in that like Lonnie Walker, Bruce Brown kind of role on the team. He's going to have to readjust what he sees his NBA career as now. Maybe he can be kind of energy guy or, like I said, 3-and-D guy. I think he'd be good with a team like the Lakers, actually, probably, if he could get in, learn from a guy like LeBron, just give you kind of a couple good minutes and, play his role. But I don't know if he's interested in doing that. So we'll see what happens with him as far as that. He could be a guy that could be like Jared Culver as well, or out of the league. Cameron Johnson, a lot of people during the draft, actually, he was the 11th pick to the Timberwolves, which they traded him to the Suns. A lot of people during the draft said this is a crazy pick. They didn't have to take this guy at 10. Why would they do that? They could have found another player. But Cameron Johnson, at number 11, Cameron Johnson actually is probably one of the most productive players in this draft. He made to the NBA Finals playing with Chris Paul and the Suns. And now a lot of the Suns fans, go figure, are upset that they traded him, Mikal Bridges, or I'm not going to say a lot of the Suns fans, but people are saying, hey, we should have kept Cam Johnson. We didn't have any depth when they traded away the rest of those guys for Kevin Durant, of course. So they could have used him. But he went over to Brooklyn in that trade, did well. And I think Cameron Johnson is going to get a pretty decent contract. He may have a $90 to $100 million contract coming up this summer, man. Number 12, PJ Washington to the Hornets. Going to the Hornets is a tough look. You get, you kind of go into a difficult situation where, the Hornets is just the Hornets, man. But he did get a chance to link up, play with a good point guard like LaMelo. He was playing behind Bridges before Bridges had his legal situation. So got a chance to, get a little bit more playing time and shine. They kind of played him as a 4 or 5. So he played a little bit of center at times, plays power forward. I think he can help a team. I think he's a good player. But, remains to be seen what happens there. The 13th pick in the draft was Tyler Hero. Tyler has he burst onto the scene in the bubble as a rookie, helped the Miami Heat get to the finals. Actually had a great run, then kind of had a little bump in the road, but eventually kind of played in that 6-man role and moved into the role as a starter this year. Broke his hand in the playoffs, and at the time of this recording, of course, the playoffs are going on, and the Heat are still in the playoffs. So we could see Tyler Hero come back if the Heat make it to the finals. Maybe he tries to get back here in the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see. But Tyler Hero was one of those guys who did get an extension, who was a good pick. So he probably would shoot up the draft boards based on some of these other names we discussed. And the last pick in the lottery that year was Romeo Langford from Indiana for the Celtics. So Romeo Langford, he was another one of those wings that people thought had some potential to be a 3-and-D guy. Was a highly rated guy in high school. Didn't really do much at Indiana, actually, in his 1 year there. And the Celtics took a chance on him. He never really played for the Celtics. Ended up getting traded in the Derek White trade over to San Antonio. And I don't think he's played much at San Antonio. He'll probably, unfortunately, be looking for work outside of the league within his next year. Maybe somebody takes a chance on him. But, very well could be a situation where he has seen his last days in the NBA. So, those are the lottery picks. And as of course tonight, recording this, we'll see who wins the lottery this year. One of the big things that everyone is talking about, of course, is Victor Wembanyama. They say he's the highest rated prospect in the history of the draft. That's higher than Kareem, higher than LeBron. This is what people are saying about him. A 7'4" center who can handle the ball like a guard. I guess a supersized Kevin Durant, maybe, is what people are saying. You watch the highlight clips of him, people love him. It remains to be seen, man, what happens, but I'm sure whoever gets that number 1 pick will be happy because they'll have the opportunity to have him. Another guy that you'll look at, Georgia guy, shout out to him, Scoot Henderson is expected to be probably the second pick in this draft. Brandon Miller is another name. He's had some off the court stuff at Alabama, but 6'9" wing out of Alabama, guy that can put the ball in the bucket. Will he be able to do that at the college level? So a couple of those names that you'll hear that teams are kind of vying to get up there in the top three. And then, of course, the Thompson twins, Amin and Asur Thompson, who are part of Overtime Elite. We haven't seen a lot of them unless you are a basketball junkie. And I seen them play. I saw them play in the what is it called? The tournament, I think, or the championship, whatever it is. That usually has the old college players playing in that with their team. So they got beat pretty handily in the game I watched against maybe an old Providence team or an old may have been like a Wichita State team or something. I don't know. But yeah, these guys, they're younger, they're twins, they're both about 6'7", 6'8". So wings can handle the ball, very athletic. Your prototypical 3-and-D type guys, minus the three a lot of times for these guys, but they're working on that part of their game. They project to be that. So, but good ball handlers, a lot of people say, a lot of the draft experts say they're probably the best athletes in the draft. Another name to look at, Anthony Black. I don't know if he'll go, he'll be a lottery pick as well out of Arkansas. So some of the names to take a look at. The draft lottery is happening at 8 p.m. before game one of my Lakers taking on the Nuggets tonight as the conference finals get kicked off. So tune in to that, man. Let me know what you think about that 2019 draft, man. We, coming into it, a lot of people had high hopes for these guys. Unfortunately, this just goes to show, as I talk about Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson and all those guys, the draft is a crapshoot, man. You look back at it, you will get grades on it right after it. This team gets A+, this team gets a B, this team failed the draft like people thought the Suns did, but sometimes you can end up with maybe the best player in that draft. You never know, and you kind of have to wait a couple years to see how things play out before you can just give a draft grade. But of course, we're in the content age, so you have to provide that content to the people right away and give them a grade on things. But I'll be following up to see kind of who wins that lottery. Will it be Detroit? Will it be Houston? Will it be San Antonio? Will it be a surprise team that comes up? Chicago, maybe, or Dallas? Will they one of them get lucky? Will the Pelicans get lucky again to get the first pick? Who knows, man? But like I said, comment below. Tell me what you think about that 2019 draft. Did you ever foresee Zion not being the superstar that he was supposed to be? Ja Morant kind of falling into this off the court stuff that's maybe has a chance of hurting his career. RJ Barrett, Star J, not living up to the hype. Just let me know what you think, man. Like I said, drafts is crapshoot. You never know. Stay tuned. Good luck to everyone who has some lottery balls or ping pong balls that'll bounce tonight, and we'll see what your team gets as far as that pick and where they'll be. Have a good one.